Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.
So welcome everybody to Season 2 and Episode 1. We're starting off, if you've seen our last selection of videos, our last mini-series, on Episode 5, right at the end is a list of all the titles of what we're going to be shooting in Season 2. So we started and we kicked off now in the middle of the absolute most amazing flower season on the West Coast and in the Richtersveld and in the Namaqualand. It's an absolute mosaic of incredible colors. So this is Episode 1. And we're going to take you around the West Coast, Namaqualand, and deep into the Richtersveld, where we are right now, and show you some of the highlights of the flower season this year.
Thank you, Craig. I think this episode in particular is going to be quite spectacular. I mean, the scenery that we have encountered from the time that we started this trip, even in slightly murky weather conditions, it has been quite phenomenal. The Northern Cape is such a beautiful, beautiful part of South Africa, and I'm so blessed that we could spend so much time here. It has a charm completely of its own. The West Coast has been amazing, and here we are in the beautiful Richtersveld in the most stunning weather, and we are having the best time. It's actually going to be a real pity when this episode comes to an end, or at least the filming of the episode comes to an end.
So thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share our videos. Let's grow the community, and we'll put all the information and data about this particular route in the video description below. Flower season up on the West Coast and Namaqualand is in full swing, or shall we say full bloom. So we're going to take the opportunity, go up there, spend 2 weeks traveling around the West Coast and into the Richtersveld and the Namaqualand flower region. There's going to be some incredible footage to be shot. The weather looks pretty good over the next few weeks, so we're pretty excited, and it's time to pack up the Jimny. We've got a roof tent on top that we've just had fitted at Go Camp, and we're going to test out the roof tent, see what it's like having it on top of the Jimny. Of course, it means that it takes up the entire front runner rack, and that doesn't give us any packing space on the roof. Usually I would have 2 to 4 ammo boxes on the roof. Space is of course very limited when you have a roof tent, so we would never be able to put the fridge in here as well. It would take up this entire area, and our portable kitchen and all the other stuff, plus we still have our bags to go in and our huge camera bag.
One thing I had to have seen to before this trip were the Kingpin bearings. When worn, they create the infamous Gen 3 Jimny death wobble, although it wasn't too bad, but it had become noticeable. I had the front tyres balanced beforehand to eliminate this as the cause. I contacted Noel at Jimny Works in Brackenfell, and he offered to do it for me on the spot, and it took only 20 minutes and cost around 600 Rand. Jimny Works were fast, efficient, and conducted highly professional workmanship. Thanks Jimny Works Brackenfell, our Jimny Cricket was running smoothly again.
So we pretty much got everything in as much as we possibly could, and with still a bit of space to be able to see out the rearview mirror. We could probably still put another ammo case in there, which is good for the future, but then we wouldn't really be able to use the rearview mirror, which I prefer to be able to do.
The entire route for this trip was planned on the beta version of the new Tracks4Africa trip planner, then synced with the Tracks4Africa guide app on my mobile phone, which I have mounted in the vehicle. The guide app is an offline app and doesn't require any cell phone reception for route info and navigation. With your mobile's location switched on, you will easily be able to see your position in relation to the route as you navigate. Our first day's travel was a quick tar route from Stellenbosch up the west coast to Paternoster and into Cape Columbine Nature Reserve to set up camp at the beach at Richtersveld, or one of the many tiny secluded bays. After a bit of driving around, we settled for a little private wild campsite at Hondeklipbaai and set up for the night.
we had our first night in the roof tent last night, and if you're a Jimny owner, there is certainly a few things to consider. If you're just going away for a few days, it's not a problem. But if you're going away for an extended 2 or 3 week period into remote areas, you need so much stuff, you're probably going to run out of space, especially if you're going to put a fridge in as well. The other couple of things to consider is that you've got the extra weight on the roof, you've got the extra wind resistance, you've got the extra fuel consumption, but it's a lot easier to pack up a roof tent and set up a roof tent than it is a ground tent. And especially if you're going to areas where it's sandy and dusty and windy, because almost no ground tents protect you from dust and sand that's blowing around. We've had that before, and it's just a nightmare. The slightest breeze in the night and the tent is filling up with fine dust. Not a lot you can do about that. In a roof tent, that's going to be eliminated. In general, we like the roof tent. It's comfortable, it's great to sleep in, it's off the ground. Yes, but you do have to climb down the ladder to pee in the night if you have to. So there's lots of different things to consider. But all in all, it's great for a short-term period, but for very, very long trips, you've got to pack extremely light, especially if you've got a fridge in there as well.
One other important factor to remember with roof tents is once you are set up, you can't easily drive anywhere again after that without folding up your roof tent. Leaving Cape Columbine Nature Reserve, we stopped for a quick pizza in Paternoster, then headed towards Clan William via the coastal roads through Elandsbaai. Our arrival in Elandsbaai timed perfectly with the passing by of one of the world's longest iron ore production trains on the Sishen line to Saldanha, coming into view with the Jimny. These trains can be up to 4 kilometers long, have 340 wagons, and have 6 to 8 diesel-electric locomotives driving over 41,000 tons of iron ore. We refueled in Clan William and then travelled on the R364 over Pakhuis Pass and onto the gravel at Klipfontein Rand en route to Calvinia. This area was abundant in a variety of wildflowers. We weren't able to secure any campsites in Calvinia, but we managed to book a room at the well-known Blauwnaartjie guest house and restaurant, one of our favorite places to stay. Before we settled in for the evening, we stocked up at Calvinia Vleis on the best Hantam lamb chops for our camping night at Kamieskroon the following evening. Nothing like genuine Karoo lamb chops, freshly cut to the thickness you want. After breakfast the next morning, we headed out of Calvinia on the R355 gravel road towards Loeriesfontein as the planned route. There wasn't a large number of wildflowers on the R355, So we took a detour through the Narasie farming region, which comes out at Gannabos quiver-tree forest on the R357 from Nieuwoudtville. The scenery was breathtaking. There are a few farm gates to open and close on this route, as well as 2 river crossing warnings for wet season. One at Kleinsee River, just right at the T-junction to Brandkop, and the other 4 kilometers further across the Huntums River. Both can be silted up with deep sand all year round. After a fuel stop and a bite to eat in Loeriesfontein, we continued up through Kliprand on the sand roads to Paulshoek and Groenkloof past to Lelyfontein. Our destination for the night was Kroon Lodge campsites in Kamieskroon on the N7, which we hoped to reach before dark. With a late afternoon golden light, it was bound to be spectacular, flying and tracking the Jimny with a drone through the mountain passes down to Kamieskroon. We woke up this morning to a complete whiteout, complete fog, and light, or almost light drizzle, but it's the fog. So we've checked with the coast where we're going in Hondeklipbaai, and it's also foggy there as well. So it's pretty much foggy from the coast right through to Kamieskroon on the N7 where we are. So there's no real point in us heading through Skilpot Flower Reserve this morning, because it'll probably only burn off around about lunchtime, and we want to be able to film, and there's no point in filming in the mist now. So we're probably going to take a direct route straight through to Hondeklipbaai, and just to get there quickly, and we've got the whole of tomorrow as well to do the flower reserve, so that's our plan. We set off in the gloomy weather and took the shortest route to Hondeklipbaai. We could see there were plenty of flowers in the landscape, but with the cold weather the flowers remain closed and are not very photogenic. And then we discovered a small farm road through a series of gates, which was pretty much a 4x4 only track. But it was abundant with all kinds of flowers, and the landscape was absolutely carpeted as far as we could see.
in the Subatsfontein area on our way to Hondeklipbaai. Craig has taken us down the most incredible back road on private farmlands, but the gates are open to the public. And we are just blown away that even in this light, although it has improved a bit, how incredibly dramatic this landscape is. In as much as we want the sunshine for the flowers to be out in full bloom, there is something very appealing and very dramatic about grey skies and all this incredible orange and yellow.
We would definitely be coming back to this location tomorrow if the sun is shining. We planned to spend 2 nights in Hondeklipbaai so we could explore the Namaqua National Park in a day drive loop back to Hondeklipbaai. With great light and sunshine, we got off to an early start and headed into the national park to Subatsfontein, and our little secret road with the abundance of flowers. The majority of the Namaqua National Park was not too impressive, but did have a few really large areas of daisies and other wild flowers.
Decided with today's great weather we had to come back. There is such a concentration of profusely bright colors, it's quite remarkable, and it is photographic beyond. I mean, even the jeep track that we're on, there are little wildflowers growing on the middle Namaqualand, which in itself is just incredible, with this backdrop of hills and these little farm fences and insane colors. Yeah, it's a wildflower season like none that we've ever experienced before.
After the kaleidoscope of wildflowers, it was time to move further up the west coast to Kleinsee for 2 nights, so we could explore the northern parts of Namaqua Park and the small village of Komaggas. Other than Springbok and Kamieskroon, Paternoster, Komaggas and Kleinsee are the only fuel points in the Namaqualand and West Coast region. Further north, there is Paternoster, of course. Visiting the small diamond mining town of Kleinsee is like stepping back in time. There wasn't much to do or see in the small town. However, the Kleinsee guest house was comfortable and attractive with strong Wi-Fi, making it possible to catch up on a bit of photo and video editing, and for Kirsten to do some Tracks4Africa social media. The next morning, we left Kleinsee and travelled 50 kilometers to the small town of Komaggas, a well-known fuel stop for 4x4 overlanders coming from the R355 from Springbok at the bottom of Spectacle Pass. Also in this area is the southern part of the Buffelsrivier 4x4 Eco Trail, also starting on the R355 and ending in Komaggas. When we left Komaggas, we followed part of the Buffelsrivier 4x4 Eco Trail, then split off back to the main gravel road to Kleinsee. Driving on the sand roads of the Namaqualand and West Coast can be dangerous, as Kirsten experienced during the filming of this episode. The high sand ruts on these roads may cause the vehicle to drift left and right, catching drivers unawares. Fortunately, Kirsten managed to prevent the Jimny from rolling and ending our trip in disaster. Other contributing factors that prevented the vehicle from rolling, despite the heavy roof tent, were the Safari HTP suspension upgrade and the BF Goodrich tyres deflated to 0.4 of a bar. Always keep your hands on the wheel, drive at safe speeds, and keep an eye out for sand humps and sand ruts at all times, especially in a heavily loaded vehicle. The part of this trip we have really been looking forward to was the route from Kleinsee to Port Nolloth and then to Sendelingsdrif via Lekkersing and the Richtersveld National Park. We had 2 nights booked at Sendelingsdrif and a chalet, which gave us an entire day to drive the circular route on the western side of the Richtersveld National Park. The road via Lekkersing was recently destroyed by massive flooding, and there were many sections we had to engage 4-wheel drive to cross thick sand riverbeds. Some of the riverbeds have been graded, but the sand was still fairly deep in sections. 4x4 is advised for this route. After a comfortable night in the chalet, we were ready for the most epic part of this trip, the Richtersveld National Park. The park is best suited to high clearance vehicles, and 4x4 is required in many places and for most passes. As with all national parks in Africa, motorcycles are not allowed in the Richtersveld at all, not from any entrance. Our intention was to do a 107-kilometer loop, including 3 major passes, specifically Halfmans Pass, Akkadis Pass, and Helskloof Pass, which comes out at the Western Gate entrance, 20 kilometers from Sendelingsdrif Race Camp. Initially, we drove the sand roads for 15 kilometers through Helfman's Pass to the Hand of God rock site. Weathering on the large rock strongly resembles a human handprint.
Our little chalet at about 8 o'clock this morning, and we're taking a very long and very slow drive through the Richtersveld National Park. I think the reason it's taking us particularly long, because we've had several people pass us, is there is just something quite spectacular around every corner. I mean, about 5 minutes ago, we followed a road that took this incredible curve, and we were faced with this massive mountain range and this beautiful soft yellow heather right across the fields. I mean, it was just quite amazing.
The collage of colour continued throughout our day in the Richtersveld. Never before have I seen such incredible beauty in this arid region. And it wasn't over yet. We still have Hellskloof Pass to complete before joining the main gravel road back to Sendelingsdrif Race Camp.
So what one must remember is that we're here right now in the last week of August, and the flowers are spectacular and everything is green, but remember, it's only going to last a few months. So if you come back to the Richtersveld at any other time of year, don't expect to see as much color as we've seen right now and as we've been filming, right from early down in the west coast, from Paternoster all the way up through the Cederberg. You won't see as much color unless you come here during August and September, during the spring wildflower season.
final stretch looking down the western side of Hellskloof Pass was remarkably beautiful. Leaving the Richtersveld for our journey to Springbok, we decided to go via Paternoster due to the extremely badly damaged roads, heading south via Sendelingsdrif. Although travelling via Elandsbaai and Paternoster was 70 kilometers further to Springbok, the roads are tarred from Elandsbaai and our travel time would be halved. The 90-kilometer road to Elandsbaai was initially smooth sand and freshly graded, but the last 30 kilometers before we joined the tar road was badly corrugated gravel. A quick fuel stop in Elandsbaai, and we were on our way to Paternoster for breakfast at Bella de Port restaurant on the beachfront.
Yes, it's that time again when we've got to head home. As Kirsten said, it has been an incredible project and we have literally seen so much beauty. This episode is so colourful and so amazing. But it has to come to an end and we've got to get back. So it's a long trip from Springbok to Stellenbosch, all on the N7, and we'll take a deviation at Malmesbury to Stellenbosch. The landscape around us is still exceptionally beautiful. I am probably going to stop somewhere here and do some droning because it is just incredibly beautiful. And it's just after 8 in the morning and that light is really fantastic.
The landscapes and backcountry roads of the Northern Cape during August and September wildflower season are exceptionally beautiful. As we leave this colourful paradise behind and head home on the N7, we are grateful that we got to experience one of the best flower seasons in many years. If you haven't experienced the Northern Cape during flower season, be sure to add it to your bucket list. Join us on our next adventure, back to the Kgalagadi. We're heading back in search of the big cats of the Kgalagadi. Join us as we explore the Botswana side of Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park along the Nosop River. We cross into Namibia and experience the magic of the quiver tree forest near Keetmanshoop. And we seek out the hot springs of Riemvasmark and visit the Agrabes Falls National Park.